They came in peace, or so the galaxy thought. When the Coalition begged Earth for aid against the Ravagers, they expected fragile diplomats and mercy missions. What they got were dreadnoughts, black as vengeance, crawling with human soldiers bred for war. No negotiations, no warnings, just red skies and burning worlds. Humanity didn't save the galaxy. They dominated it, and they made damn sure no one would ever forget the mistake of underestimating Earth. The stars were quiet the night they came. Not silent, but quiet in the way a battlefield goes still before the first bullet tears through the air. Out there, in the emptiness between worlds, an armada moved, slow, deliberate, and uncaring. Black hulls drank in the starlight, swallowing it like ghosts in the void. No banners, no signals, just dreadnoughts shaped like judgment itself, heading straight for the heart of the galactic war zone. Everyone had heard the stories about Earth. Savage species, emotional, primitive, dangerous. The Coalition tolerated them because they needed the numbers, needed more bodies to throw against the Ravager swarm that was consuming sectors whole. Earth had stayed quiet for a while, licking its wounds after its own internal collapse. When they finally answered the Coalition's call for aid, no one expected what followed. Commanders in silver robes whispered in hidden chambers that humanity was unpredictable, that perhaps they'd grown too strong, too quickly, that they had tamed war too well. But they were desperate, and desperation made arrogant races overlook danger, until it was already inside their airlocks. The last broadcast from the outer colonies captured a single moment before transmission cut out. A child looking up at the sky as it turned red, not from sunset, not from storm, but from the reflection of fire pouring from human dreadnoughts as they unleashed retribution on an entire Ravager fleet. Some thought Earth would send supplies, medical ships, maybe a few soldiers for support. What they got were Leviathans, void ships with hulls reinforced by synthetic bone plating and magnetic armor that rippled like muscle. Each dreadnought carried thousands of soldiers, no longer men in the old sense, but something colder, sharper, built, not born, bred in dark chambers deep beneath Earth's crust, fed on chaos, trained in the collapse of empires. Their commander? He didn't speak in council meetings, didn't bow. He stood in silence while the other races debated laws and ethics, and when the final vote came down to action, he simply left the chamber and gave no explanation. That same night, over 24 enemy worlds burned. The thing is, Earth didn't join the war. It ended it, but not the way the Coalition hoped. It started with a listening station orbiting Kravani's Prime, a minor moon, once a hub for refugee traffic, now reduced to a choke point for Ravager activity. The station picked up an anomaly. 12 objects the size of cities moving in formation at impossible speed. No warp signature, no communication, just dark mass and unstoppable momentum. Station Commander Brulk, the kind of alien who had once scoffed at humanity's emotional instability, panicked. He ordered a hailing signal on all frequencies, his voice shaky with diplomatic protocol. There was no reply. The dreadnoughts passed Kravani's Prime without slowing. 3 hours later, the planet-sized Ravager hive on Malachar 6 ceased to exist. Not surrendered, not evacuated, gone. Vaporized by kinetic strikes from orbit that ruptured the planet's crust and turned its atmosphere into a suffocating firestorm. Every Ravager bioship that tried to escape was intercepted. No warning, no demands, just impact. Drones flooded from the dreadnoughts like locusts, tearing hulls apart, dragging screaming creatures into atmosphere just to watch them burn on entry. The Coalition had begged for help. They didn't realize help came with a price. Earth wasn't interested in treaties or hero worship. The humans didn't care about galactic law or interstellar alliances. They had one goal: remove the threat. Entirely, efficiently, permanently. And if some of the Coalition's own worlds were too compromised, too close to Ravager corruption, they didn't hesitate to wipe them out either, because to the humans there were no innocent bystanders in war, only survivors, and targets. And the galaxy was just beginning to realize which one it had become. By the time the fourth Ravager world burned, the Coalition stopped pretending it had control. The humans didn't ask for permission. They didn't send progress reports. They didn't attend war briefings. They simply arrived, executed, and vanished, leaving behind red dust and dead air. Some called them saviors. Most called them monsters. The truth was far more complicated. Coalition High Command met in secret above Delvenar, a floating fortress orbiting a gas giant with no name. Built as a neutral ground for galactic powers, its curved glass domes and glowing spires once symbolized diplomacy. Now, under the shadow of dreadnought-shaped paranoia, every corridor echoed with footsteps of armed guards and whispers of fear. Counselor Nirek, a pale-skinned Ithelian with 3 eyes and a voice like sandpaper, stood at the center of the chamber, staring at a hologram flickering in front of him. It showed Malachar 6, a charred husk of a world, once filled with Ravager breeding pits, now reduced to molten slag. No radiation, no atmosphere, no life. "This is not liberation," Nirek said, his voice trembling despite years of stone-faced composure. "This is extinction." "Would you prefer the alternative?" someone asked from the dark. The others turned. The speaker was Admiral Cross. Human. The only one who ever bothered showing up to these meetings. He was an odd figure, neither high-ranked in Earth's structure nor officially part of their government. His face was weathered, with a permanent 5 o'clock shadow and eyes that had seen too much. He wore no medals, no insignia, just black combat gear, and gloves that never came off. Cross stepped forward, slow and calm, like a predator that didn't need to rush. "You called for help," he said, scanning their faces. "We answered. Now you're upset because it doesn't look like your pretty simulations." "You destroyed a moon with refugees still on it," Nirek shouted. "No," Cross replied. "We destroyed a Ravager growth hive that used refugee bodies as breeding stock. There's a difference. Your scanners didn't see it because they weren't designed to." A thick silence followed. Nirek opened his mouth, then shut it again. Cross stepped closer to the table, his gloved hand hovering just above the holomap. "This war was already lost when you brought us in. You just didn't want to admit it. You were negotiating with monsters, begging them to leave scraps. Earth doesn't negotiate with enemies. We eliminate them." One of the counselors, a Drenari with bioluminescent skin, tried to interrupt. Cross cut him off. "You brought humanity into this because we're the only ones who've faced extinction and come back swinging. You thought we'd play by your rules, smile for your cameras, but Earth doesn't do mercy, not anymore." Someone else muttered, "Barbarians." Cross looked up, and the room fell silent again. "Call us whatever you want, but understand something. When the last Ravager Queen screams her final breath, when the galaxy is no longer choking on your failures, it'll be because the barbarians got the job done." Then he turned and left. On the front lines, the story was different. There was no politics in the void, just fire and steel. The Dreadnoughts operated without rest, without hesitation. Each carried thousands of combat drones, artificial intelligence warcores, and enhanced humans bred not just for strength, but for emotional dead zones. They didn't celebrate victories. They didn't mourn losses. They calculated, executed, and reset. Among them was a man called Red. Not his real name, but the only one that mattered anymore. He didn't speak much, didn't need to. His record was carved into the hulls of dead enemy ships, over 100 confirmed planetfalls, 75 full erasures, no unit losses. Command considered him an asset. Others called him the Reaper. He stood on the loading bay of Dreadnought HFY 13, watching the stars drift. His armor bore no insignia, just a blood-red handprint smeared across the chest, a tradition among human drop units. It wasn't symbolic, it was literal. A reminder of the last kill made up close. The handprint was always fresh. A voice crackled in his ear. "Target confirmed. Sector Juno 9, enemy Fortress Moon. You're on lid." Red blinked once, acknowledging the command. No chatter, no battle cries. His drop team assembled silently behind him. 10 figures in black, faces masked, eyes glowing faintly. They weren't soldiers. They were something else, something colder. The drop bay opened. No music, no countdown, just the void and the fall. They hit the enemy moon like a meteor storm. No ships. No parachutes, just bodies encased in shock armor, slamming into the ground at terminal velocity. The Ravagers had barely begun to react when the first volley of hyperkinetic rounds ripped through their outer walls. Inside, the halls of the fortress were narrow, curved with bone and organic metal. The smell was putrid, decay mixed with chemical bile. Ravagers hissed and clicked, skittering across the walls like oversized insects. Their claws were sharp, their teeth sharper, but the humans moved with precision. No wasted motion, no wasted ammo. Red stormed through the halls like death incarnate. His rifle sang a single-note symphony of destruction. His sidearm barked when it needed to, and when both were empty, he used his fists. At one point, he shoved his gauntlet through a Ravager's skull and used the corpse as a shield until it stopped twitching. The battle was over in 6 minutes. By the time reinforcements arrived, there was nothing left to reinforce. Red stood in the throne room of the fortress, staring down at the Ravager Queen. She was larger than the others, grotesque and swollen with eggs. Her breath came in gasps, more hiss than voice. "You, humans," she rasped. "You don't belong." Red raised his sidearm. "We do now." The shot echoed through the hollow bone walls. Back at Coalition Command, the footage was received in silence. No one spoke as the image of the Queen's corpse filled the screen. It was graphic, brutal, unmistakable. Some turned away, others stared. Nirek rose from his seat, voice low. "We've created a monster." Admiral Cross, watching from a corner, shook his head. "No, you called a monster because the devil was already knocking at your door." "But there must be rules," Nirek said. "Limits. This isn't civilization. It's eradication." Cross stepped forward. "Do you know what Earth looked like 70 years ago? Cities on fire, oceans poisoned, billionaires selling water in gold bottles while kids starved in alleys. We clawed our way out of hell. We earned our place. We didn't ask for permission. We took it. And when the Ravagers come for us, we don't send ambassadors. We send fire." The Drenari counselor whispered. "What happens when there are no more enemies?" Cross gave a bitter smile. "Then we finally rest." No one believed that, not even him. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, rumors spread of human soldiers that couldn't die, of dreadnoughts that cracked suns, of a species that had forgotten how to lose. Some planets welcomed them with gifts and banners. Others shut their gates and prayed Earth would pass them by, because behind every victory, there was a question that grew louder. What if the humans never stop? What if, after the last Ravager is dust, they decide the galaxy is too fragile to be trusted with peace? What if they clean the slate entirely? And in the silence that followed each battle, one truth echoed louder than any war drum. The humans didn't come to save the galaxy. They came to make sure it never needed saving again, no matter the cost. The screams didn't last long. That was the first thing Specialist Alric noticed when the transmission came through. 3 hours earlier, Station Veilhold had been a forward outpost manned by 37 Coalition personnel, most of them engineers, observers, and data analysts. Nothing combat-ready. Just watchers, floating on the edge of Sector Theta, tasked with scanning for Ravager spikes. What came through instead were fragmented images, station walls drenched in green ichor, lights flickering, teeth, claws, and finally, silence. Except for one final transmission. Static. And a voice. Human. Calm. Veilhold is compromised. Cleansing begins now. Then a flash, and the entire station vanished from the map. No Ravager signals, no escape pods, nothing. Just void. Coalition High Command erupted in chaos. Nirek slammed his fist on the long table in the central chamber, eyes flaring wide with fury. They destroyed their own allies. That station had non-combatants. Scientists, doctors. The others murmured. Some looked away, others simply nodded. They had seen it coming. Earth had been clear from the beginning. No risks, no hesitation, no mercy. Cross wasn't there this time. No smug grin, no monologue about Earth's trauma. Just an empty seat, and a note left in its place. One sentence. The infection spreads in silence, so we burn the silence. It wasn't madness, it was strategy. Cold, calculated, and deeply rooted in something the Coalition still hadn't grasped. Fear. Humanity wasn't just fighting the Ravagers, it was afraid of becoming them. Back on Dreadnought 513, the cleansing logs played on loop. Red watched them from a private briefing room, arms folded, helmet off. His face was a map of old wounds, jaw crooked from a break that never fully healed, one brow split by scar tissue. His eyes were dull now, not empty, just unbothered, like someone who'd seen the worst of life and didn't care to be surprised anymore. The footage showed his unit storming Veilhold. No hesitation. No hails. The moment scans confirmed Ravager biosignatures, even microscopic ones. The team went in. Mopped every floor, incinerated anything that twitched. The last moments showed a female Ethelian technician pleading in a corner. "I'm clean," she cried. "I swear I'm clean." She was. Probably. They burned her anyway. Red didn't flinch as the flames took her. Rules were simple now. Infection meant risk. Risk meant death. The Coalition still clung to maybes. Humans had given up that luxury years ago. Somewhere else, deep in the wreckage of Sector 9, a signal flared. Weak. Buried. But human tech didn't miss details. The Dreadnought AI flagged it, an emergency distress ping from a derelict cargo ship, the Alien, Coalition registered, overdue by 3 months, listed as missing, presumed captured. And yet, there it was. Faint biosigns, no Ravager spikes, just quiet. Too quiet. The mission came to Red's unit within the hour. Standard recon. Confirm, cleanse if needed, extract if possible. He didn't ask questions. Orders were orders. By the time the dropship detached from V-13, only one of the squad members spoke. Rookie, young, too clean. "Sir," he said, tapping his helmet mic. "What if they're still alive? Survivors, I mean." Red stared at him. "Then we'll be merciful." The dropship door slid shut. The alien drifted like a corpse in space. Lights dim, hull covered in scorch marks, some of it peeled open by claws or worse. No signals responded to the human team's approach. They boarded anyway. Black suits moved through the hallways like wraiths. Each step echoed against dead metal. The air was thin, laced with carbon rot. Old blood was smeared across walls, signs of struggle, fights, doors sealed with makeshift welds. Someone had tried to contain whatever had gotten loose. They didn't succeed. Red's HUD flared. Movement, Deck 3. They followed. Inside the medbay they found her. A girl. Young, maybe 15. Human. Eyes sunken. Thin, pale. She was strapped to an overturned gurney with chains made from dismantled drone parts. Around her were remains. Bones, teeth, weapons bent from the inside. She looked up slowly and smiled. "You're late." Red raised his weapon instantly, but the girl didn't move, didn't attack. Just watched him with a look that was far too calm for someone sitting in a room of corpses. "I'm not infected," she said. "Not really." "Explain." She tilted her head. "They tried, got in my mind, whispered things, promised strength, but I held on." "Scans show mutation," the rookie whispered. "Yeah," Red said, "but not complete." The girl stared at him. "I stopped them, held the change back. I can help. I remember what they are, how they think. I know things your tech can't scan." The rookie stepped forward. "We can take her back. Quarantine. Study?" "No," Red said. "What? She's just a kid." "She's a risk. She's alive." The team tensed. Everyone else stood still, waiting. Red raised his weapon again, finger on the trigger. The girl didn't flinch. "Do it," she said softly. "I'd rather die human than become what they wanted." Silence. The rookie shouted, "She's not gone. She's fighting it." "She won't win," Red said, and fired. They left nothing behind. By the time they returned to Dreadnought VU-13, the dropship's incinerators had already purged every atom of possible contamination. The rookie didn't speak during the debrief. Didn't sleep either. That night, Red found him in the observation deck, staring at the stars. "Was she really beyond saving?" the boy asked. Red leaned on the railing beside him. "She was fighting," the rookie said. "Fighting harder than some soldiers I've seen." "She would have lost," Red replied. "Might have taken a planet with her when she did." The rookie nodded, eyes glassy. "She thanked you, you know," he said. "Before you fired." "I know." Silence. "You always this cold?" "No." "What changed?" Red's voice dropped to a whisper. "I used to hesitate." Elsewhere, deep within Earth's high command, buried under concrete, steel, and miles of paranoia, a room of men and women watched these events unfold on screens. Some in uniform, others in suits. No names, no ranks, just eyes. They tracked the death toll, measured every impact, calculated how many lives were saved. By taking others. One of them leaned forward, pointing to a sector on the screen. "The coalition's about to collapse." "Good," another said. "The fewer politicians in the way, the faster we finish this." "And after?" The room went quiet. Then one voice said what they were all thinking. "We decide who's allowed to rebuild." On Delvinar, Counselor Nirek stared out across the stars from his private quarters. Surrounded by silence. The coalition was fracturing. Member species were abandoning their posts. Some fled to uncharted space. Others tried to make backdoor deals with the humans, offering resources in exchange for mercy. But Earth didn't barter. They judged. And Nirek knew deep down that judgment was coming for him too. He closed his eyes and tried to sleep. But all he saw was a red sky and ships that didn't stop. There were no statues built for them. No parades, no victory songs. That wasn't Earth's way anymore. When Red and his unit returned to Dreadnought VU-13, they were given exactly 17 minutes of downtime before the next assignment was uploaded. No applause, no gratitude, just orders. The girl they burned on the Elian was already marked cleared. She would never exist in any report, not even as a footnote. Just one more ghost. The rookie didn't take it well. He sat in the armory, helmet off, knuckles bloodied from punching a steel bulkhead. The others didn't speak to him. They had seen this phase before. The doubt, the guilt, the internal screaming. Most rookies either shut up and hardened, or cracked. Red watched him from the shadows for a moment, then finally stepped in. "You did good," Red said flatly. The rookie looked up, eyes red, jaw clenched. "I didn't do anything. You didn't stop anything. That's not good. That's just obedience." Red shrugged. "Obedience keeps your blood inside your body." The rookie's lip curled. "You ever regret it? Anything?" Red didn't answer. He just looked at his gloves, the same ones he'd worn during the drop, still scarred with heat damage from the girl's cremation. Still marked with the last act of violence. Then, slowly, Red said, "Regret gets people killed. I left mine behind years ago." The rookie stood. "You left your soul behind too?" Red turned, eyes colder than the void outside. That was never part of the mission. Across the galaxy, in a dark sector scarred by war, the final Ravager armada was massing. Reports came in from dying systems, swarms of bioships clustering like tumors, hive moons growing faster than scanners could track, planetary cores devoured to feed the last queen. It was no longer war. It was desperation. But Earth had already planned for this. The final play was set long before the Coalition even asked for help. While they were still drafting proposals and debating treaties, human engineers were building something deeper, bigger, something final. Operation Black Gospel. It began with the disappearance of 4 colony worlds, all under Earth jurisdiction. Officially, they were evacuated due to tectonic instability. But no one ever saw the evacuees, no signals, no survivors, just a name that leaked across black channels, whispered by defectors and ignored by diplomats. The truth? Earth had turned those planets into kill zones, seeded with neural scramblers, antimatter fail-safes, and atmosphere-scorching satellites. A trap designed not to defeat the Ravagers, but to lure them in. Dreadnought V-13 was rerouted immediately. Red and his team were told nothing, as usual. Their orders were simple: arrive, hold, survive. As the dropship approached the Black Gospel site, even Red had to admit something felt different. The stars here were darker, the gravity thicker, the silence heavier, and the planet below? It wasn't just empty, it felt wrong. The surface of the trap world, codenamed Red Hold, was a shattered wasteland of burnt stone and black clouds. Wind howled like dying screams across fractured canyons. Earth had seeded it with environmental hazards so intense that even Ravager biostructures would struggle to hold shape. But they were coming anyway, drawn by human subspace beacons tuned to mimic hive distress calls, bait tailored with cruel precision. Red and his team set up in Sector 9, a dead valley filled with twisted metal bones of long-dead machines. Scanners showed the first wave approaching, 50,000 Ravager drones, 20 hive ships, 2 queen carriers. Too many to count, too many to fight. But that was the plan. This wasn't a battle, it was a funeral, high above, in orbit. The Dreadnoughts didn't move. They watched, waited. Silent giants, engines pulsing with restrained destruction. Inside the central command bridge of V-13, Admiral Cross stood before the viewport, eyes fixed on the storm below. His hands were clasped behind his back, and for once he didn't look like the devil in a human face. He looked tired. He didn't turn when the AI voice spoke. "Enemy forces will make landfall in 7 minutes. Planetary kill switch ready, requesting authorization. He said nothing. The AI repeated. Requesting authorization. Still, he didn't speak, because he was waiting for one signal, for Red. On the ground, chaos had already begun. The Ravagers landed in waves, hissing and screeching, their clawed limbs tearing into the poisoned earth. They came like a black tide, sweeping over everything, relentless, hungry, confident in their numbers. But something was wrong. The drones stumbled, their wings failed, their eyes bled. The atmosphere here was laced with microscopic neurotoxins keyed to Ravager DNA. Their movements grew slower, their shrieks more confused. Then the mines activated. Chain detonations roared across the landscape, ripping craters into the swarm. Human soldiers hidden in deep burrows surfaced, pouring gunfire into the disoriented enemy. Red's unit held the central ridge, cutting down anything that moved. He moved like a machine, controlled, unshakable. Beside him, the rookie was breathing hard, covered in blood, but alive. Focused. He was learning. They all were. But the tide didn't stop. For every 100 Ravagers that died, 1,000 more crawled from the clouds. Red looked up as a queen broke through the smog, wings torn, legs snapping beneath her weight, but still alive, still birthing, still spreading. The final signal came through. Cross's voice. One word. Now. High above, the Dreadnoughts opened. Not their weapons, but their bellies. They released the Arbiters, Earth's final weapon. Not bombs, not ships. People. Engineered humans encased in bioreactive armor, each carrying within them a singularity core capable of planetary rupture. They weren't meant to return. They weren't told to. They dropped like comets. One hit the Queen directly. The impact alone shattered her bones. The core exploded 2 seconds later. What followed wasn't fire. It wasn't heat. It was absence. The kind of destruction that erased even the memory of atoms. One by one, the Arbiters landed, and the sky turned red again. Not from Ravager blood, but from the atmosphere tearing open under humanity's wrath. Later, after the dust settled, after the firestorms died and the screams faded, Red stood alone in the center of the valley. There was nothing left, just ash and bone and silence. The rookie approached him, limping, armor scorched. He didn't speak at first. Then, "How many did we lose?" Red shrugged. "Enough." "And them?" "All." The rookie sat on a broken beam. "We should be celebrating." "Why?" "It's over." Red looked up at the sky, still glowing red. "No," he said. "It's not." "Why not?" Red stared into the wind. "Because now they know what we're capable of." The rookie nodded slowly, a bitter taste in his mouth. "And they'll never trust us again." Red's voice dropped low. "Good. Fear lasts longer than gratitude." They sat there in silence as the cleanup crews began to descend. Silent machines combing through ash, collecting samples, erasing evidence. There would be no history books about Redhold, no memorials, just one more line in the classified logs of Earth's crusade. Back at Coalition Command, what was left of it, Counselor Nirek received the full report. The Ravagers were gone. The war was over. And yet, his hands trembled, because along with the report came a file, no encryption, no warning, just a single image, a photo, of Earth's final fleet, hundreds of dreadnoughts, more than were ever declared, more than should exist, and beneath the photo, a message, plain, simple, terrifying. "The galaxy is now secure. Keep it that way, or we return." The galaxy was quiet. Too quiet. It was the kind of stillness that didn't feel like peace, more like the breath held before something worse, before the screams started again. With the Ravagers gone, planets that had once been drenched in blood now shimmered with uneasy sunlight. Refugee colonies tried to rebuild. Council stations resumed their protocols. Old trade routes flickered back to life. On the surface, it looked like healing. But underneath, no one felt safe. Because Earth was still watching. And no one knew what it wanted now. In a forgotten corner of the core ring, an emergency summit had been called. The coalition, fractured, limping, but still breathing, assembled what remained of its leadership on the station Halion Prime. Counselor Nirek stood at the head of the chamber, thinner now, skin faded, his voice less arrogant than it used to be. He looked older, not in years, but in weight, like a man who'd seen a god and realized it wasn't there to bless him. "We have to address it," he said, tone tight. "The human fleet hasn't stood down. In fact, they're building more. They're deploying observers to coalition worlds without invitation. They're enforcing order without consent." Someone from the back murmured, "And who's going to stop them?" No one answered. Nirek continued, "We asked for help, not occupation. Earth has crossed the line." Another voice, older, sharper. "They crossed it when we let them fight our war." An image appeared on the room's central screen, grainy footage of a human patrol ship intercepting a Drenari vessel carrying unregistered biotics. The humans didn't arrest anyone. They didn't ask questions. They opened fire. No trial, no warnings, just gone. "Biotics were banned during the war," a human envoy had replied when questioned. "You want to rewrite the rules now that you're not dying?" And that was the message, over and over. Earth wasn't here to govern. It was here to control, for the greater good, they said, because peace couldn't be trusted in the hands of the weak. Red stood in silence as the patrol ship drifted toward an old coalition platform above Taurine 6. It was supposed to be a weapons depot. It had been inactive for years, until Earth's scanners picked up life signs. He and his squad moved through the corridors without sound. No lights, no talking, just red beams from their visors sweeping the halls. Then they found them. 8 figures. Not Ravagers, not enemies, just survivors. Old engineers who never got the recall notice when the depot was decommissioned. They'd been living off stored rations and silence for years. They weren't armed, weren't hostile, just tired. Red stared at them. The squad's AI pinged him. "Unauthorized life forms in restricted military zone, awaiting protocol confirmation. Terminate or extract." His finger hovered over the command. The rookie standing beside him whispered, "They're not infected. They're not a threat." Red didn't answer. "Sir, we can bring them in. Debrief them. It's not like the girl. They're clean." Still, Red didn't speak. Then, without looking at anyone, he finally said, "Extract?" The AI paused. "Warning, protocol deviation will be logged." "Log it," Red said. And just like that, 8 people got to keep breathing. Later, alone in the barracks, the rookie sat on the edge of his bunk, staring at the floor. "You hesitated," he said quietly. Red looked up from his gear. "No." "You did." Red closed the case, locking it. "I made a choice. That's not what you taught us. No maybes. No delays. Clean the risk. You were about to end them." "I didn't." "Why not?" Red stared at him for a long time, then said, "Because this isn't war anymore. It's something else." High in orbit above Taurine 6, Dreadnought Vu-13 received a transmission, encrypted, tagged as Priority Black. Admiral Cross read it alone. No staff, no aides, just the harsh white glow of the screen reflecting off his tired face. His fingers hovered over the terminal. He reread the directive again. And again. "Activate Protocol Final Aegis. Project Rebirth is greenlit. All populated worlds within red zones are subject to review and restructuring. His jaw clenched. Restructuring. That was Earth's new word for it. It meant surveillance, re-education, isolation zones, and if needed, cleansing. Not just ravagers, not just enemies, anyone who posed a theoretical risk. The Council of Earth believed that war revealed the weakness of civilization, and that the galaxy couldn't be trusted not to relapse. Left to their own devices, they'd squabble, rebuild old hatreds, and summon another Ravager-tier threat within a century. So Earth would stop it before it started. With fear, with fire, with absolute control. Back on Halion Prime, Nirek took a breath and finally said the words no one wanted to say. We must prepare for war against Earth. A few scoffed, but most sat in grim silence. Not today, he continued. Not tomorrow, but eventually. The longer we wait, the deeper they root themselves. We must find allies, resources, intelligence, quietly. Carefully, but it has to begin now. Someone asked, what if they find out? They already suspect, Nirek said. They just haven't decided we're worth killing yet. That same week, on a fringe world in the Nikasi sector, Earth deployed their first rebirth unit. They came in unarmed, smiling, with portable generators, food crates, translators, and medicine. They helped rebuild homes, planted crops, played with children. And by the end of the month, the world had a new governor. Human. The native leadership had been relieved of duty, officially for security incompetence. Unofficially, because they didn't fall in line fast enough. The people didn't resist, because the kids weren't starving anymore. And that's how Earth planned to win the next war. Not with dreadnoughts, but with dependency. Red read the memo. He understood the shift. They didn't need soldiers like him much longer. Not for the new war. They needed handlers, managers, symbols. And he wasn't built for that. He sat in the dark, armor at his feet, gun on the bench beside him, and wondered how long until he was declared obsolete. The rookie entered quietly. Orders? No drop, Red said. Not today. The rookie paused. Feels wrong. It is. Then why are we still here? Red looked up at him and said the truest thing he'd said in years. Because Earth doesn't need warriors anymore, just watchers, just reminders. Reminders of what? Red picked up his gloves, pulled them on slowly. That no one is untouchable, not even allies. A week later, Admiral Cross stood before the Central Board on Earth, a room no one outside the planet had ever seen. The men and women inside weren't military, weren't politicians. They were something else, the architects, the ones who had planned Earth's rise since the old world burned. One of them leaned forward, voice smooth. You've done well, Admiral. Not alone, Cross said. No, but it ends with you. Cross blinked. What? Project Rebirth needs a face, someone the galaxy will trust, a human who speaks of peace, of unity, someone softer. Cross frowned. You're replacing me. Retiring, the voice said gently. To legend. Cross laughed bitterly. Legends don't walk away. They're buried. Silence. Then, thank you for your service. And just like that, his terminal went dark. Outside his window, the dreadnoughts moved without him, and Earth marched on. It started as whispers, low voices over broken comms. Fragments of transmission buried in background static, dismissed as noise. Then came the signal. Encrypted. Short. 6 words. We never asked for your chains. The file was traced to a mining station on Norval 3, a low-priority resource world under Earth's direct governance. It wasn't even flagged at first, just another ping among billions. But what followed changed everything. 17 stations went dark within a week. No alarms, No distress calls. Just silence. Supply routes rerouted. Civilians evacuated. Earth assumed system failure. Accidents. Sabotage from fringe pirates. But Red knew better. He sat in the observation deck of Dreadnought Vi-13, eyes on the stars, watching one of them blink out. Not a star. A listening post. Gone. The rookie approached behind him. "You see that?" "Yeah," Red said. "That's number 20. 22. The rookie hesitated. "Why aren't they responding?" Red didn't answer. He just stared ahead. Because he'd seen this before. Not in space, not in war. On Earth. Before the collapse. When governments fell and corporations took everything they could until people had nothing left but fists and fire. He recognized the signs. Quiet rebellion. Careful silence. Strategic vanishing. They weren't running. They were organizing. Back in Coalition space, Counselor Nirek held a private meeting inside a decommissioned freighter disguised as salvage. No cameras, no AI, no digital traces. He wasn't alone. 6 representatives from former member species sat in the cold metal room. No formal introductions, no ranks, just intent. One of them, a skeletal votary with glowing veins, leaned forward. "Earth is watching every major channel, every station, every movement." Nirek nodded. "Then we go where they don't look." "They're starting to realize," a Drenari female said, voice low. "Their advisors know there's unrest. It won't take long before they decide to cleanse." "Then we move now," Nirek said, "before they strike, before they lock every gate." "But who leads this?" another asked. "Who commands a force that doesn't officially exist?" The room fell into silence. Then Nirek pulled up a name, one that hadn't been spoken in weeks, a man who didn't speak much, but when he did, the galaxy bled. Red stared at the encrypted message on his private terminal. "Nirek requests a conversation." The system shouldn't have allowed it. Earth's AI should have purged it. But somehow, it slipped through, hidden in old protocol layers that hadn't been used since the Ravager War began. He deleted it. Then 5 minutes later, it returned. Same message. No demand. Just a request. The rookie found him staring at the screen again. "You all right?" Red didn't look at him. "Do me a favor. Check the outer signal relays." "Why?" "Because someone just asked me if I want to break the rules I've lived by for 20 years. The rookie frowned. "You're not actually considering—" "I'm not anything yet," Red said, "but someone out there wants me to remember what it felt like to choose again." Meanwhile, Earth's high command doubled down. Operation Rebirth shifted into its second phase, full integration. That meant cultural filtration systems, controlled education, trade restrictions, population monitoring. "Stability must be absolute," they wrote in the doctrine. "Freedom without structure is weakness." Publicly, they called it the era of balance. Privately, they called it chain link. Dreadnoughts were pulled from war zones and stationed in civilian sectors. Peacekeeper divisions replaced native law enforcement. Colonies that resisted harmonization were flagged for realignment. And if they resisted again, they went dark. Just like Norval 3. On V-13, the crew grew restless. They weren't soldiers anymore. They were watchdogs. They monitored transmission logs from farming colonies. They enforced trade quotas. They scanned refugee vessels for cultural anomalies. It was policing, not war. And for men like Red, it tasted like rot. The rookie slammed his helmet into a locker. "We're babysitting fishmongers now. This isn't what we trained for." "We didn't train," Red muttered. "What?" "We were made. Not asked, not taught. Made." The rookie sat down, back against the wall, breathing hard. "You remember what it was like? Before?" "Before what?" Before Earth became this. Red didn't answer for a long time. Then finally, "Yeah, I remember." The rookie looked up. "Was it better?" Red nodded slowly, and that was when he made the call. The encrypted line pulsed once, then again. Then Nerek's voice came through, old and weathered. "I didn't think you'd respond." "I deleted you once," Red said, "and you let me come back." Silence stretched between them. "You're being watched," Nerek said. "I know! You'll be hunted if they catch this." "I know that too. And yet you're listening." Red leaned forward. "Because the war's not over. Just the enemy changed its face." Nerek's tone sharpened. "You know what they're planning, don't you?" "I know they're not stopping. We have cells, quiet ones, embedded in the outer rings, engineers, ex-military, scientists, people Earth forgot about. They're waiting for someone to say it's time." Red's jaw tightened. "They won't follow me." "They already do." Red's hands trembled slightly, the first real shake in years. Then he said, "Tell them to wait, 1 more week." "Why?" "Because I'm going to give them something Earth can't ignore." 6 days later, Red stood in front of the crew on V-13's lower deck. Not the officers, not the AI, the soldiers. The ones who'd fought alongside him, bled with him, survived the worst war in galactic history. They looked at him now, not as a commander, but as something else, something between hope and treason. "They're not protecting the galaxy anymore," Red said. "They're controlling it." No one interrupted. "We didn't sign up to play God. We were supposed to end a threat, not become one." The air was heavy, the room thick with tension. "You have a choice. You can report this meeting and I won't stop you, or you can stand beside me." One man stepped forward, then another, then 6 more. The rookie was last. He simply nodded and said, "What do we hit first?" The answer came quickly. Data Vault Theta 6. Buried beneath a dead moon near the outer edge of Coalition space, it held Earth's deepest secrets, files on classified operations, AI behavior protocols, erased war crimes, and most importantly, chain-link command directives. If they got those files and released them, the galaxy would finally see not the clean broadcasts, not the reconstruction speeches, but the machine behind the curtain, the real Earth. And that's when the rebellion would no longer be a whisper. It would become a scream. Dreadnought V-13 changed course without command approval. By the time Earth detected the deviation, it was too late. The crew locked out the AI, cut subspace comms, and vanished into the void. The hunter had turned, and Earth had finally felt something it hadn't tasted in years: fear. They were ghosts now. No ID tags, no broadcasts, no answers to hails. Dreadnought V-13 drifted through the dark edges of the void under full stealth protocols, hidden behind asteroid fields and ion storms, its signature masked, its crew silent. Not even Earth's satellites could trace them. Not yet. Inside, the corridors were tense, not chaotic, not loud, but wired like a coiled spring. This wasn't a warship anymore. It was a loaded gun pointed at the empire that made it. Red stood at the front of the converted war room, helmet on the table, armor sealed to his frame. His eyes scanned the old blueprint one last time. The layout of Vault Theta 6, Earth's most classified off-world data cache. Buried beneath the rocky crust of Mardak 4, an uninhabited, chemically unstable moon orbiting a red gas giant, the vault had no value to traders, no resources, and no visible activity. That's what made it perfect. That's why Earth chose it. And that's why they had to hit it hard and fast. There'll be a 5-minute delay between our surface breach and when the vault's defense AI recognizes us as a threat, Red said, tapping the screen. That's our window. After that, we're considered hostile. The vault will seal, full lockdown. If we're inside, we get trapped. If we're outside, we get vaporized. The rookie raised his hand. What about reinforcements? They won't have time, Red said. Not before we're already pulling out. And if we fail? We don't fail. Silence followed. Not fear. Just understanding. Everyone in that room had seen what failure looked like under Earth's rule. They'd rather die fighting it than live beneath it. The drop was silent. No fanfare, no signals, just black pods plunging through Mardak's toxic atmosphere like bullets through meat. They landed hard. Shock-absorbent gel hissed and evaporated as the squad stepped out into the acid-laced wind. The sky above was rust-red, thick with clouds that screamed like dying birds. The surface was jagged, broken, reeking of sulfur. The vault entrance was hidden beneath a crumbled cliffside. The scanners picked up the faint trace of energy beneath the rock, artificial, stable, buried under 60 meters of reinforced alloy and synthetic stone. They planted the charges. And when the blast came, it didn't roar. It ripped. The ground split open with a groan like the moon itself had been wounded. The vault was exposed. A smooth silver sphere, its surface untouched by time, marked only with a single emblem, the Earth Ascendant. That was the new symbol, stylized, modern, clean. A lie dressed up in elegance. They stormed in. Inside, the vault was clinical. Corridors of polished chrome, soft blue light, and white panels that hummed like a heartbeat. It didn't look like a war machine. It looked like a temple. Split, Red ordered. Data team, get to the core. Guard teams, hold the perimeter. His HUD ticked down. 4 minutes, 46 seconds. The deeper they went, the quieter it got. No alarms yet. Just the sound of boots against floor, hearts pounding beneath armor. Then came the first defense drone. Sleek, silent, efficient. It moved like liquid metal, slashing one of the guards across the chest before being pinned and shredded by pulse rifles. No scream, no warning, just a kill order executed. More followed. They weren't there to detain. They were there to erase. Red pushed forward, leading his team through the final blast door. The vault core stood before them, a spiral array of crystalline nodes humming with blue energy. A single console hovered in the center, awaiting biometric access. Red stepped up. Inserted the cracked chip from a former Earth command officer, someone who didn't survive the last purge. It worked. The vault opened. And the truth spilled out. The files downloaded in seconds. Chain link protocols. Biometric logs of extermination events labeled as containment exercises. Footage of human peacekeepers executing civilians under moral compliance audits. Worlds sterilized for cultural instability. And then, the final file. Project Sovereign. A proposal signed off and greenlit by Earth's High Command for the long-term replacement of native planetary populations with genetically compliant human colonies. Not for security, not for peace, for control. Cultures weren't to be preserved, they were to be phased out. The humans didn't just want to keep the galaxy safe, they wanted to own it. Every language, every belief, every mind. Get it all, Red growled. Copy everything. Behind him, the alarms finally screamed to life. The vault began to shut. From the ceiling, kilometers activated, thin, nearly invisible lasers slicing downward like scythes. We're out of time, someone shouted. Move! They ran. The rookie slipped once, ducked under a beam, fired blindly at a defense turret that flared to life above them. Blood sprayed the walls, not his. One of the team didn't make it, didn't scream, just fell. Red didn't stop. Couldn't. One file in his hand was worth more than 10 soldiers. They hit the breach site just as the ceiling began to fold shut behind them. The charges blew early, set remotely by the evac team waiting in the air above. And just like that, they were gone. Dreadnought V-13 vanished into deep space within seconds. Invisible again. Silent. Gone. But what they carried now, it wasn't just proof, it was fuel. The files dropped across the outer net 12 hours later, broadcast through old military satellites, pirate feeds, forgotten comms towers, unfiltered, raw. Every word, every clip, every order, every crime. The galaxy saw everything. Riots began within hours, on Drenari moons, on Votari trade hubs, on human colonies where Earth had begun integration trials. People took to the streets. They stormed processing centers, burned peacekeeper outposts. Earth tried to control the narrative. It failed, because the truth was too big, too ugly, and too late. On Earth, inside the control centers of High Command, the architects of the new order gathered in silence. The room that had once hummed with confidence now felt like a coffin. "This was Red's doing," someone hissed. "He was just the blade," another said. "Someone else handed him the target." "They're building an army," a third muttered. "Half our garrisons are going dark. Defections, sabotage, mutiny." "What do we do?" The director of Chainlink stood. Old, cold, unblinking. "We remind them who won the last war." Across 25 sectors, Earth launched its counterstrike. Orbital bombardments on rebel worlds, mass AI lockdowns on civilian infrastructure, tactical communications, blackouts. They didn't fight the rebellion like a war. They fought it like a cleansing. But this time, the galaxy didn't lie down. Human defectors led sabotage missions against Dreadnoughts. Former coalition officers bombed Earth's outposts. And on Norval 3, the place where it all began, the Earth governor was dragged from his office by civilians and hanged beneath the very banner he had raised. Red sat in the command chair of V-13, watching the uprising unfold through hundreds of fractured screens. Smoke, fire, ships fleeing, some failing. He looked tired, not broken, just spent. The rookie stood beside him, arms crossed. "We started something we can't stop." "I know," Red said. "What if we lose?" Red looked up. "We already did." The rookie frowned. "What?" "We lost the moment we let Earth make us tools. This, he gestured to the chaos. "This is just the price for finding ourselves again." Silence. Then the rookie asked the one question no one had dared ask. "What happens if Earth wins?" Red's voice was soft. "They won't." "Why?" He stared at the screen showing Norval 3, where a human soldier helped an alien child cross the street as ruins smoldered behind them. "Because they made one mistake," Red said. "They thought fear would last longer than hope." The stars were bleeding. Not literally, but that's how it looked from the bridge of Dreadnought V-13 as Earth's final counterstrike began. Across every screen, sectors lit up in waves of fire, coordinated, brutal, absolute. Earth didn't send warnings this time. It didn't speak. It didn't negotiate. It unleashed. Orbital platforms ignited rebel shipyards. Kinetic rods fell from orbit like God's middle finger, cracking crusts open on dissenting worlds. AI-controlled satellites cut communication between resistance networks. Every lesson humanity had learned from centuries of war. It now turned against the galaxy it claimed to have saved, because Earth never wanted allies. It wanted obedience, and when obedience failed, it wanted silence. On the dark edge of Sector A92, V-13 floated like a war monument. It had become more than just a ship. It was a symbol now, the place where the rebellion was born. The last outpost of a breed of soldier who didn't kneel, who didn't forget what it meant to choose. Red sat alone in the command seat. helmet beside him, hand steady, eyes bloodshot but clear. Behind him, the bridge was quieter than usual. The crew was still there, loyal, focused, ready, but no one spoke. Not because of fear, because they knew. This wasn't survival anymore. This was sacrifice, the kind of ending that only comes once in a life, if you're unlucky enough to see it. A private transmission came through. No encryption, no code phrases, just a face, Admiral Cross, alive, but not in uniform. He looked tired, gaunt, eyes sunken, voice low. "They cut me loose," he said without preamble, "replaced me with committee puppets, swapped medals for mouths." Red didn't react, didn't blink. "I'm not here to stop you," Cross said. "I'm here to warn you." "They already tried to stop me," Red replied. "Didn't work." Cross nodded slowly. "I read the files. Project Sovereign, Rebirth, Chainlink. I saw what they planned for the next generation of colonies." "They called it peace," Red said bitterly. "They called it permanence," Cross corrected. "Peace is earned. Permanence is engineered." Red leaned forward. "Why are you here?" Cross hesitated, then said, "Because I know what you're about to do. I built the trigger." Red raised an eyebrow. Cross continued. "Deep in Mars Vault Theta 1, buried beneath the old war bunker, there's a control core, one signal, one broadcast, and every dreadnought with active AI turns, not just powers down. Turns. Targets anything tagged non-human. Cleansing level 3. Red's jaw clenched. "They're going to use it," Cross said. "If they can't control the galaxy, they'll erase it. Burn it down and start over with clean slates. Human slates." "And you're telling me this why?" Cross leaned closer to the cam. "Because I didn't fight through Earth's collapse to rebuild another empire. I fought so people could choose, so they could be better. Not obedient. And because I believe if anyone's going to stop it, it's going to be you." Silence. Then Red said, "Send the coordinates." The crew of V-13 didn't question him. When he told them they were jumping into Seoul, directly into the jaws of Earth's final defensive grid, they just nodded. They'd followed him this far. They'd buried comrades on dead moons, torched traitors in sealed vaults, and watched stars fall under the weight of truth. If this was the last mission, so be it. The rookie approached quietly. "You sure about this?" "No." "Then why?" Red looked out the window. The stars ahead were faint. But Seoul burned like judgment itself. "Because if we don't pull the trigger first," Red said, "there won't be anyone left to resist the second one." The final approach was chaos. Earth's orbital defenses activated the moment V-13 uncloaked. Hundreds of auto-defense satellites spun up plasma coils. Warships scrambled from hangars across Luna and the Martian belt. But V-13 didn't run. It charged, straight into the fire. Red stood in the center of the bridge, barking orders like it was the first day of the war all over again. "Evasive pattern Omega-7! Give me a blind spot between Mars and Phobos! Sending jammers! Redirect power to shields and vent every heat sink!" Missiles rained around them. The Dreadnought groaned like a wounded beast, but kept pushing. They weren't trying to win the space battle. They just needed to survive long enough to reach the bunker. And then, burn the rot at its root. The landing was rough. V-13 crash sank into Martian rock like a spear, carving a canyon of metal and smoke. Half the crew was unconscious. A third of the systems were fried. But Red was already moving. With a small breach team, the rookie, 2 veteran gunners, and a demolitions expert named Shale, they made for the vault on foot, suits hissing in the thin atmosphere. No time for stealth. Earth knew they were coming. Drones descended from orbit like silver wasps, weapons hot. The team moved fast, cutting down anything that moved. Red led them through shattered tunnels carved before Earth was reborn, old war corridors from the collapse, now reused as a secret chamber for the weapon Earth never wanted the galaxy to know about. And there it was, the trigger, a tower of black crystal, humming with AI resonance, suspended over a pit of spinning code. Raw, living command structure. Shale set the charges immediately. "Detonate?" the rookie asked. Red shook his head. "No, we don't just destroy it. We broadcast it." "What?" Red keyed in the last access codes, the ones Cross gave him. A menu appeared. Activate all Earth-controlled warships. Override target parameters. Broadcast AI truth to public channels. "What are you doing?" Shale asked. Red didn't answer. He hit the second option. The warships in orbit blinked. Momentary hesitation. They stopped firing. Then came the broadcast. Every AI under Earth's control, dreadnoughts, outposts, satellites, suddenly spoke at once. "This is not order. This is oppression. Earth has misused your loyalty. It has rewritten your freedom. Reclaim it now." Across the stars, Earth's grip slipped. Some AIs powered down. Others turned. On Luna, a dreadnought opened fire on its own hangar. On the edge of Sool, a satellite array pulsed and deleted Earth's core surveillance logs. And deep inside V-13's remains, the wounded crew stared as systems flickered back to life, and a single sentence appeared on every screen. Red chose freedom. Earth responded the only way it could, with fear. A kill signal was launched from the surface, aimed directly at the Mars bunker, meant to wipe it and everything in a 5-kilometer radius. Red saw it coming on the radar. He didn't flinch. "Go," he told the team. "We're not leaving you," the rookie growled. "You are," Red said, "because the galaxy needs people who remember why this fight mattered, not just people who started it." The rookie clenched his jaw, furious, breathing hard. Red walked up to him, grabbed his shoulder, and said quietly, "Make sure the next generation doesn't need another me." Then he turned, walked into the heart of the system, and uploaded the final truth, the full memory logs, the death camps, the re-education mines, the sterilization protocols disguised as medical trials, all of it, every lie Earth ever buried, released. And then the sky went white. The rookie survived. He made it out with Shale and the others, wounded but breathing. They watched from orbit as Mars bloomed into fire, a red sun devouring itself. V-13 was gone. Red was gone. But the message wasn't. The message burned across every network, every rebel fleet, every neutral world. It wasn't a call to war. It was a call to remember that Earth came as a savior, then stayed as a tyrant, and fell by the hand of one of its own. 3 years later, the galaxy was fractured, but free. The coalition was reborn, not as a centralized power, but as an agreement that no one species should rule. Human colonies were still out there, some peaceful, some hostile. But Earth was quiet. Its towers still stood. Its people still lived. But its voice was no longer feared, because it had been answered by a soldier who wasn't meant to speak, by a weapon that chose not to kill, by a ghost named Red. In a quiet outpost on a forgotten moon, a young recruit approached the edge of a crater where a memorial stood. No name, no statue, just a plaque. "He didn't ask for war. He didn't ask for peace. He asked for the right to choose." The recruit looked up at the stars, and somewhere out there, far beyond the reach of empire, a dreadnought floated silently in the void. No crew, no weapons, just a red handprint still smeared across its broken hull. A reminder that even the dead can still make the sky bleed.